Hello, I'm Arijit, and let's first begin with the chapter as prescribed by ICSE, the First World War. Let's first discuss about the condition and the status of world and Europe before the year 1914. Before the year 1914, there were two kinds of nation states in Europe. On the one hand, there were single nation states like France, Holland, and Germany. National identities were based up to a certain extent on common language and ideas and similar religious beliefs. On the other hand, there were big empires like the Turkish Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and the Russian Empire. They included people of several nationalities like the Serbs, the Bosnians, the Croats, the Czechoslovakians, and etc. The Turkish population also consisted of numerous non-Muslims and numerous people of Asiatic origin. Also, British not only had a vast colonial empire but controlled Ireland against the wishes of the local population. So, it was due to these unequal treaties that there came the outburst of two hostile camps in Europe before the year 1914. They were respectively the Triple Entente, consisting of France, Britain, and Russia. On the other hand, there was the Triple Alliance, consisting of Germany, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and Italy. Now, these were the conditions, and also it was because of the various and several colonies with the economically backward countries of Asia, Africa, and of Latin America that when a war broke out in Europe in the year 1914, it directly or indirectly involved the rest of the world too. So let's now first discuss the causes that ultimately brought the biggest war in the history of mankind, the war largest in magnitude the world had ever seen till then, the First World War. So let's first discuss the first cause, which was the race for armaments. The armaments of the European powers began to grow year after year. They were alleged for the purpose of defense and to create a sense of security. But as imperialisticness provoked, the sense of security that they provided proved to be a false sense of security as the arms of the big nations began to grow year after year. In the year 1914, there was a big naval race and a naval war between Britain and Germany, which generated huge public support on each side. In the midst of the armament race, the British public coined the slogan, "We want 8 and we won't wait," referring to the number of dreadnoughts they wanted the government to build. The British government did more shipbuilding, and it was due to this fact that at the beginning of the First World War, compared with Germany's 29 battleships, Britain had 49 battleships. Now, the second most important cause of the First World War was the race for armaments and the militant nationalism. Nationalism had been a very strong driving force in European politics. Each nation wanted to free itself from the domination and the shackles of another nation. Each wanted to assert their independence. There were two big empires in Europe during the year 1914. They were the Turkish Empire and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. All the same, many nationalities and nations of Europe were against the Turkish Empire. During this wave of nationalism, Serbia, Bosnia, Romania, Bulgaria, and Greece asserted their independence as independent nations and supported the cause of the fighting of nationalism of another war to bring out universal peace among the nations of Europe. So this had been a very strong driving force in European politics, militant nationalism, that ultimately led to the cause of the First World War. Now, the immediate cause that led to the First World War. The Sarajevo Crisis. On 28th of June 1914. In the month of June, France's Archduke Ferdinand, heir apparent to the Austrian throne, went on an official visit to the province of Bosnia in Serbia. It was there that on 28th of June, Archduke Francis Ferdinand, along with his wife, was shot dead by a Serbian terrorist. The Austrians blamed the Serbian government for the incident, and in spite of Serbian government's act to come to a compromise, declared war against that country on 28th of July 1914. Now, the main participants in the First World War. The participants in the war had been, firstly, the Serbia. Serbia had been aided by Russia, which provoked Germany to declare war on Russia and also to invade France. On 4th of August, Britain declared war on Germany, which provoked Austro-Hungarian Empire to declare war on Britain and on Russia on 6th of August 1914. And this provoked the Turkish Empire and also the empire of the regions of Bulgaria to join hands with the Hungarian Empire and also with Britain and Germany and sided with the Triple Axis in the First World War. And still later in the year 1917, when German submarines blew up American ships of US carrying supplies for the UK and her allies, USA sided with Britain and her allies in the First World War. Now, what were the main consequences of the war? The main consequences of the war had been, the war was fought actually on two fronts. Firstly, there had been the Eastern Front. On the Eastern Front, Russia had been badly defeated by Germany on the air, on land, on sea, and nearly had been very badly defeated not only by Germany but also the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which resulted in a Bolshevik regime in Russia. This caused the weakening of the position of Tsar of Russia, who held the reins of the government to a government led by Kerensky. But the government of Kerensky was forcibly toppled by Lenin in the year 1921, who established a Bolshevik regime in the same year. Also in the Eastern Front, Turkey lost the areas of Palestine, Iraq and Syria to Britain and her allies due to the losing side in the First World War. Also, Germany lost a number of territories of her possessions in northwest the Pacific Ocean islands and also her partial control over some territories in northwestern China due to her defeat in the First World War. Now, the most important cause of the defeat of the Germans was that their losing side in the Western Front. In the Western Front, the triple group of the allies of USA, Britain and France defeated the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Turkish Empire and also Germany on land, on air and as well as on the seas. This provoked Germany to dictate peace on the terms as dictated by the victorious Allied powers, and thus the Great World War came to an end on 11th of November 1919. On the same year, it was followed by the signing of an armistice, which followed by the signing of the famous Treaty of Versailles. Now, the consequences of the First World War. Firstly, civilian deaths. Six million. Soldier deaths. 9 million. Horses deaths. 5 million. Destruction of property. Rupees 386,000,000,000,000. So, the First World War had been a tremendously fatal war, and not only that, there were territorial rearrangements in which USA emerged out to be a superpower and the greatest military power in the world. Britain and France, although victorious, were rendered much poorer at the end of the First World War due to the destruction of their property. Also, at the end of the First World War, it has been seen that there had been many technological advancements, namely use of tanks. Tanks have been for the first time used in the war by Britain. Secondly, use of submarines. Submarines had also been for the first time used by Germany in initiating the war. Thirdly, machine guns by Turkey at Gaza. And fourthly, the use of poison gas by USA and by air raids. So, the First World War had initially been a very fatal war. Also, there had been many territorial convergences and divergences at the end of the First World War. Namely, the main territorial divergences were the big nations of Germany, Russia, and Austria were broken into Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Finland, Bosnia, Bulgaria, Belgium, Czechoslovakia, Romania, and partial resurrection of Poland. And partial resurrection of Poland had been one of the causes that ultimately resulted in the Second World War, initiated at the hands of Adolf Hitler. Now, the Second World War had been a cause that had been initiated because of the terms dictated by the victorious Allied powers to Britain, and also by the Britain by USA to Germany. At the end of the First World War, Britain and USA and also France had dictated terms for peace, and Germany had to abide by those peace agreements by the famous Treaty of Versailles. Germany had to surrender numerous properties of her by the famous agreement of the Treaty of Versailles, signed by the leaders of the new German government at Versailles in France on 28th of June 1919. The Treaty of Versailles was initiated actually by the then USA President Woodrow Wilson, who initiated his famous 14-point formula for ending the war. The Treaty of Versailles severely restricted the German army. Germany was allowed to maintain only an army of 1 lakh soldiers, 36 battleships, and with no air force, no submarines, and with only 36 ships consisting of 15,000 naval soldiers. Also, the Saar coal mines of Germany were to be handed over to France for a period of 15 years in reparation for the destruction of property of France and its own coal mines. Thirdly, the province of Alsace-Lorraine went to France for the destruction of its own fertile lands from Germany. Also, the largest German seaport, Danzig, was to be made a free city under the control of the new Republic of Poland. It was further agreed by all the parties concerned that an international organization for further peace maintenance in the world, called the League of Nations, must be formed to prevent any future wars. Number 4. Germany saw the complete independence of the new Republic of Poland, who was given initiatory mandatories by the League of Nations. Point number 5. Rhineland was demilitarized. Germany was forbidden to construct any fortifications to the west of a line drawn 50 kilometers to the east of the Rhineland. No existing fortifications were to be maintained in the Rhineland, which was left demilitarized. Germany also had to surrender the areas of Eupen and Malmedy to Belgium. She further had to surrender the port of Memel to Lithuania in restoration for the property destroyed by Germany of Lithuania. Also, Germany saw the complete independence of Czechoslovakia and of the areas of Poland. For the property worth rupees 286,000 rupees was initiated. Also, we can say that it was 21 billion pounds that Germany had to pay in reparation for the property it destroyed of the Allied powers. Hence, the World War I came to an end, creating the world a very unsafe place for democracy, for governance, and hence initially perpetuating the causes of the Second World War. Now, with these things, I'd like to end my speech with the famous things that the initial organization called the League of Nations failed in its achievements, failed in its aims to create the world a safer place for democracy. The League of Nations was made a puppet in the hands of Britain, France, who used the League's power to dominate the world and ultimately leading to the Second World War. Thank you.